Hi everyone, I'm Heidi with Onigo Stamping. I'm so excited that you're joining me today for my first ever YouTube video. I love stamping and paper crafting and scrapbooking and making cards and gifts for my family and friends, and I also love teaching others how to do this wonderful craft. So I'm really excited to start making videos so that I can share what I love with more of you. If you have any questions or you need help getting started, or maybe you want to order some stamps, ink, or paper, or look at a catalog, or maybe you just have an idea for a video you'd like to see in the future, go ahead and reach out to me. Send me an email or leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you and know how I can help you better. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to use the puff paint accents and the Stampin' Blends to create a beautiful card. I'm really excited to get going, so Oni go! Let's get stamping. Here's the card that I'm going to be showing you how to make today. It uses the Country Home stamp set, which I have right here. The Country Home stamp set features a pitcher and a milk jug that you can put in these different flowers and sprays of flowers, and has a bunch of different thankful sayings. It was new in last year's holiday catalog, and it carried over into this year's annual catalog, and is just a great fall set. So we're going to be using that, and we're going to be using the pitcher and then the spray of floral things that include the cotton twigs in there. And what's really fun about this card is that the cotton is actually puffed up, and I'm going to show you how to do that. That's one of the first things we're going to do. So let me go ahead and set this aside. Because we are using the Stampin' Blends to color in this image, I'm going to use the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad. This ink pad is a permanent dye ink. Because the Stampin' Blends are alcohol-based markers, you need to use a dye-based ink with them, and that needs to be a permanent ink, or it will, some of the colors will run if they're not a permanent ink. So I'm going to start with the Memento, the Tuxedo Black. The Memento pad is a felt pad, so you do need to tap it a few more times with a little bit more force than maybe the foam pads. It's not squishy like the foam. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp this towards the bottom of my Whisper White cardstock. And then I am going to go ahead and mask this. The stamp really stops towards the bottom. You can kind of see with this photopolymer stamp set, it does, it's cut off at the bottom. It is made to fit right in this jug, but just to be on the safe side and try not to get any twigs or anything onto my jug itself, I am going to go ahead and just stick a mask right over that to try to keep the top of it really clear. I'm going to ink this up really well. And then you can see through it, so you can get it just in just the right spot. Go ahead and give it a good pressure and lift that back up. So there is the image that we have. And now I am going to show you how to do those puffs of cotton. For the puffs of cotton, I'm using the Snowfall Accents Puff Paint. This paint is supposed to, first thing you want to do is you want to shake it up. And it was built, I'm going to show you on a piece of scrap paper. The instructions say just to take this, it's got a kind of a fine applicator at the top. And the instructions say just to take this and squirt it directly on your paper, which is fine, that does work. You will notice though, it is kind of hard to get it exactly where you want it, or it might be thicker on one end and thinner on the other end, because it is very, very runny. So sometimes you get blobs that you don't want. I'm going to show you real quick what this does though when you heat it. So when you zap that with your heat gun, it does puff up and give you that puffy look. So you do, when you put it on, you do want it to be kind of globbed up in a puddle. You don't want to have it be flat right into the paper because it won't puff up at that point. So back to our image, what I like to do instead of just taking the paint and applying it directly to the image, I'm actually going to apply it with a paintbrush. So I'm just taking a spare clear block that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little puddle on my clear block. And then I'm taking this little teeny tiny paintbrush that I have, and I'm going to kind of scoop up the paint because, like I said, you do want kind of a puddle. So I get kind of like this scoopiness, and then I'm just going to come right in, and I'm kind of tap it on. So you don't want to brush it like you would paint. You kind of just want to give it a tapping motion so that you're putting down that puddle of white. Okay, and then you can come in with your heat gun again. And give that a little zap there and it will puff right up. What's nice about the paintbrush method is you got a little bit more control over it. And I can now come in and I might say, oh, you know what? I didn't quite get enough out here on these edges. I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit more. And we'll hit it again with the heat. And there you go. You do want to be a little bit careful and not to overheat it because after a while it will start to toast. And I think my next image, I'll show you, I finished the, excuse my arm, I finished the puff paint on this image right here. You can maybe kind of see on here that I did get some yellowing in here. I wasn't paying attention. I was kind of holding my heat gun like this and heating places as I want because I do each little individual cotton puff separately and heat it right away so that paint doesn't start to seep into the paper, but really it's all there to puff up. And I was holding it sideways while I did these ones over here and I kind of got those a little bit too much. So you do want to make sure that you kind of really hold your heat gun straight up and down so you're just getting heat on the areas you want it. But here is that image again that has all the puff paint, all those cotton balls are already done. And now we're gonna go ahead and use our blends to color it in. So here's my Stampin' Blend. I'm starting with the crumb cake, the light colored crumb cake. And I am just going to color in pretty much my whole watering can. Really quick, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna come back over it. And then I'm gonna take the dark crumb cake and I'm gonna color in the areas where there's already kind of shaded, maybe it's flaky paint, I'm not sure. But just on those edges there and across the bottom, over here too, across down the sides, across the top, kind of all the places that kind of define it, where the edges are and such. Looks pretty rough. That's okay. I'm going to come back with the light colored crumb cake again, and I'm now going to color over kind of the edge. So I'm not meeting all the way in the center because it will get darker the more that you color over it. I'm just blending out that dark crumb cake on the sides. And I can decide I didn't quite get enough dark over here, so I'm going to add a little bit more dark in to the bottom here. And come in again with the light crumb cake and go right over that. At the end, what I like to do when I'm coloring in a big area like that is I like to take the color lifter. This is kind of a clear marker. It doesn't have any color. And I'm just going to go over that whole thing. That will lift some of the color, and the other thing it does is it just kind of helps all those colors to blend together a little bit more. I can go back in, I can do the same thing with some of the leaves. I'm going to use Old Olive, start with the light, color those in, and then take my dark one, color in like down on the stems or where they overlap a little bit, where you might want a little bit darker leaf color. Come back in with my light and just color over those again. So the Stampin' Blends make it really easy to do some really cool shading. You always want to make sure when you're using the Stampin' Blends that you get the top on there completely. Some people like to put it on the table, just click it with my finger, but you want to hear that nice sharp click sound. So to speed things up, I'm just going to set this aside. Here is one that is completely done, except that I want to do one more step. So you can see I've colored in the whole image, but what I like to do after I've colored the whole image is I like to go around it with some crumb cake. So I have the light crumb cake, and I'm just going to go around all the edges. Come in here in between the different things. And I color in all those edges. Right? And I continue all the way around. I'm not going to do the whole thing right now. I do like to come in at the bottom and kind of give it more of a shadow that it's sitting on. After I've gone all the way around, I'm going to come back again with that color lifter, that clear one, and I'm going to kind of go over the edge and kind of overlap onto the outside. This just helps the color kind of fuzz out at the edges. And it's really hard to see, but as you let this sit, it is going to lighten up and look even better. And I'm definitely going to come across the bottom. You can kind of see this when I do the bottom. If you'll notice, it might be really hard, but it does kind of just fuzz all together a little bit more, spread that ink out. So I'm going to do that all the way around the whole image, and I will show you where I have one of those completed, so you can see how it just has that light shadow all around it. It just kind of helps make the whole thing pop right out. So now I'm just going to finish off the card. I have some various pieces of cardstock. I'm going to start with a piece of soft suede, and I will have all the dimensions for these pieces on my website, so definitely go and check that out. And I'm just going to glue this together really quick with some liquid adhesive. I'm going to layer that on a piece of old olive. And then I have a piece of Pear Pizzazz cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored it at 5 1/2. And I'm just going to use my bone folder to give it a really nice crease on the top there. I have this gorgeous pattern paper, which I'm not sure, I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, so I will look that up for you. But gorgeous paper, it's just all different colors of greens and leaves and some kind of quilt squares. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. Glue it on the front of my card base. Just want to put a little bit of liquid adhesive all over the back there. You don't want it to be super thick. In fact, I make sure the tip is kind of touching the paper at all times. And then I'm going to come back. So the sample card said thanks. I think this one I'm just going to have it say hello. I'm going to come in with my black memento again and just stamp that right over here. Hello. I'm going to come in with some linen thread, and I'm not going to do this whole thing, but I would tie this around to complete this. Tie this just around the front here, and then I would use some dimensionals just to attach this to the front. And I'll show you the finished card once again. So once again, here is the finished card. Quick, easy, has lots of fun dimension with that puffy paint that's giving you that feel of the cotton. I remember I lived in the South for a couple years, and I remember the first time I drove by cotton fields and saw just all that fluffy cotton out there. I just wanted to run in the fields and touch it. So pretty. So I love seeing the fluffy cotton in this spray here. So that's the card I have to share with you today. Again, if you have any questions or you need help with anything, I would love to help you with whatever you need. Please go ahead and leave a comment below. And as always, subscribe if you like this video, so maybe I'll start making some more. Thank you once again for joining me for my first ever YouTube video, and I hope to see you back here. Thanks. Bye-bye.